All right, and we are live. Good evening po sa inyong lahat mga kaguro. And of course, welcome back to Gurong Pinoy. Hello, of course, sa lahat ng members ng Team Skinner, our Let Babies for September this year. And again, if you are still not a member of Team Skinner, mag-join na po kayo. Just send a message through our Facebook page. And of course, we also have our full online majorship schedule for English, Math, Filipino, Gen Sci, Soc Sci, MAPE, Values Education, TLE, and AFA. And of course, this coming weekend, starting tomorrow, they're already going to have their discussion of their mid-review test. And so po pwede pa rin pong humabol if you'll be joining us tomorrow or maybe today. Po pwede niyo pong balikan lahat ng ating full-length videos, and of course you can download all our files, at meron din po tayong online quiz sa ating pong Gen Ed, Prof Ed, and that's Team Skinner. So again, just send a message through our Facebook page if you'd want to join us. All right. Now you can see on your screen our July schedule. For tomorrow, starting tomorrow, we are going to have the mid-review discussion for our majorship. Then, of course, we have Prof Ed sa Monday. Sockside drills with Coach June. Sa mga nagtatanong, Coach June, of course, is already a regular lecturer. Every Tuesday po, nasa atin si Coach June. But of course, gaya po ng ating ibang sessions, magiging exclusive na lang po yung full-length video sa ating Team Skinner. Sa magpa-member po kayo sa Team Skinner para dire-diretso po yung inyong panonood. Then, July 5, Prof Ed pa rin po tayo because our guest lecture for Gen Ed discussion, the last Gen Ed discussion that we have, is only available on Fridays. So Fridays po, we are going to have free drills with our guest lecturer. I will be introducing our guest lecturer very, very soon. Ang July 6 natin, thank you so much kay Coach Gon. Umuo na siya. And so hindi po ito bakante. This is still going to be with Coach Gon, still live for free sa ating pong Facebook page and of course sa ating YouTube channel. Then of course, on July 10th, we are going to have the reopening of your diagnostic test, both for Gen Ed and Prof Ed. Yan po yung exclusive sa ating pong Team Skinner. Then of course, mid-review for Gen Ed will be on July 12th, and mid-review for Prof Ed is going to be on July 13th. So, we are going to tighten na our belts. Dire-diretso na po yung ating pagre-review. Bakbakan na po sa pagre-review because of course, you only have a few months left until you take the let. Okay, so again, send a message to this Facebook page if you'd want to join us. All right, now again, September 2023, top 3 would be receiving 100,000 pesos, top 2, 200,000 pesos, and of course, top 1 receives 300,000 pesos from Gurong Pinoy. And so, ano pa pong inyong hinihintay? Mag-join na sa Team Skinner, not only to pass the let, and of course, you also have a chance, tutulungan po namin kayo to top the let. Of course, sa March 2023, the previous let, we have produced 15 top-notchers. Okay, so kayo na po yung susunod, hindi lamang passers, but of course also our top-notchers. Okay, so again, just send a message through this Facebook page if you'd want to join us. All right, now tonight's discussion is focused on general education, specifically purposive communication. Kindly like, love, share our video, start a watch party, tag all of your friends, and of course, you can show your support by sending us stars on Facebook and super chat, super secrets naman po sa ating YouTube channel. But before we start with anything else, of course, that is all have our opening prayers. So samahan niyo po ako mga kaguro. Dear Lord, I come to you to ask for your guidance and direction in this study session. I ask that the Holy Spirit fill me with strength, creativity, and understanding to get through my studies without difficulty or sin. Help me hold my focus and attention. Help me to retain all that I learned. Please make my mind sharp and keep distractions at bay. If any part of my studying is weak or lacking in some way, let it be revealed so that I may correct it. Thank you for this opportunity to learn. Amen. All right, now once again, this is purposive communication. Like, love, and share na po ng ating video. Start a watch party and tag your friends. Let us all start with question number 1. Number 1, this is a two-way process that acknowledges the active participation of both the sender and receiver in constructing meaning. Examples of these include a face-to-face meeting, a telephone call, a Skype call, a chat session, interactive training, or a meeting meeting in which all attendees participate by sharing ideas and comments? Is it letter A, transaction model, letter B, interaction model, letter C, transmission model, or letter D, communicator to communicator model? What is our choice for number 1? Okay, I see a lot of letter A's sa ating comment box. Again, pakitag na po yung mga left takers natin. And of course, share our video. Okay, I see a lot of letter A's. For number 1, we are talking about purposive communication. This is the second to the last session natin for Gen Ed. Then we still have 2 sessions for Prof Ed. Then after that po, mid-review na tayo. Okay, so dire-diretso po yung ating pagre-review. We'll have the mid-review discussion. Then of course, you'll have the pre-board, final coaching, and classified files. Now, so the day before you take the LET, nandito pa rin po yung Gurong Pinoy. Okay, so if you are still not a member, magpa-member na po. Send a message to this Facebook page. Okay, letter A is two-way process. Acknowledges the active participation. You have so many clues in our question na hindi siya one-way process. It's a two-way process. Active participation of both the sender and receiver. They are constructing meaning. And you have several examples given here. Now, interactive training. All attendees participate by sharing ideas and comments. The correct choice here would be letter A. That's transaction model. Okay, let's take a look at our slide. All right, so transaction model of communication, this was by Barland. Okay, so sometimes it also called it Barland's transactional model of communication. Okay, so you have the different components of communication dito. Meron kang sender, no? The sender, and of course, you also have the receiver. Pero sabi nga ng ating transactional model, their roles would reverse. Okay, so vice versa, yung sender mo nagiging receiver once they are already exchanging ideas, no? And sabi ng transactional model mo, there is no limit to the number of senders and receivers. As many people as you can have po pwedeng maging sender and receiver. And so you have the sender here, and the sender encodes or sends the message through your channel. Now, once the message is sent, your receiver would decode it. Okay, the receiver would decode it, and the receiver, of course, would give the feedback. No? So the receiver now switches the role, and the receiver becomes the sender. Okay, so nag-switch na yung kanilang role. Yung receiver mo naman yung magsisend a message, and so this time the receiver becomes the sender, and vice versa. Okay, there also is a consideration of the different types of noise, at mamaya po pag-uusapan din natin ang iba't ibang klase ng noise in communication. Now, it's also very important to note that your transaction model or transactional model by Barland is within the social and cultural context. So, depende sa kung saang society at kung anong kultura meron yung nakikipag-communicate. No? Maaaring iba yung interpretation ng inyong receiver kung galing siya sa ibang kultura or iba yung kanyang society. Okay, so your transactional model is within the social and cultural context. Na isi nga sa alang-alang niya ang social and cultural context ng communication. Okay, so letter A po ang ating hinahanap na choice dito. That would be tumpak. Now, what about the rest of your choices? Now, yung linear or transmission model mo ay tinatawag pong linear model. That means one way. Okay? So, ito kanina hindi po pwedeng siya yung ating sagot kasi sabi sa ating question, it's a two-way process. No? Two-way process yung ating hinahanap. But your linear or transmission model is just one way. Okay? So, from the sender, the messages are communicated through channels. There might be some noise. And of course, the receiver receives your message. Okay, there is no feedback. Okay, the roles of your sender and your receiver do not interchange. No, hindi nag-change or hindi nagso-swap yung kanilang roles dito. Linear lamang. For example, from teacher to students. No, kapag nag-lecture yung teacher, one-way process lamang unless may Q&A na or may discussion na between the different members of the class. No, kung ikaw ay binibigyan ng instruction ng inyong nanay o ng inyong boss, di ba? So one-way process siya, transmission model siya, linear model. Kung ikaw ay tinatalakan ng inyong jowa, Okay, so that can also be your linear or transition model. So again, it's just one way. Walang sagot, walang feedback coming from your receiver. Now, your interaction model of communication naman, bakit hindi siya yung ating sagot kanina? This is within the physical and psychological context. No? So, depende kung saan kayo nag-uusap at depende kung ano yung mindset mo at that particular moment. No? So, field of experience of your sender and of your receiver here are very, very important. Okay? So, depende sa experience ng inyong sender at depende din sa experience ng inyong receiver ang kanyang pag-i-interpret ng mensahe. No? Interpretation here is given emphasis. Okay? So sabi dito, ang interpretation ng isang mensahe ay depende sa physical or psychological context ng receiver. Okay? So, but there is also the switching of roles between the sender and the receiver here. Okay? So again, yung inyo pong binibigang pansin dito or emphasis would be interpretation. So depende sa interpretasyon, minsan iba yung inyong gustong i-communicate or gustong sabihin pero na may misinterpret. Okay, so that's your interaction model. All right, but again, we were looking for your transactional model. For letter A, we move on with question number 2. This model of communication describes communication as a two-way process in which participants alternate positions as sender and receiver and generate meaning by sending and receiving feedback within physical and psychological contexts. Would this be letter A, transaction model, letter B, interactive model, letter C, transmission model, or letter D, communicator to communicator model? Very easy, bonus na. Kakadiscuss lamang po natin. All right, what do you think is the right choice for question number 2? Okay, so again, it's two-way, and so hindi po pwede yung letter C mo, di ba? Transmission model is linear. It is one way. Okay, what do you think is the right choice for number 2? Okay, number 2, I see a lot of letter B's, and of course, that would be tumpak. All right? So again, transmission model is linear. So hindi siya po pwedeng ating maging choice dito, no? Kasi sabi, two-way process. Ang communicator-to-communicator model dito, dinagdag lamang siya, no? Wala siya sa different models of communication. Now, between your interactive and transaction model, sinabi natin kanina, interactive model is within physical and psychological context, while your transactional model is within your social and cultural context. Okay, social and cultural context naman ang transaction model. So letter B is tumpak for number 2. We go to number 3. This context includes the environmental factors in a communication encounter. The size, layout, temperature, and lighting of a space influence our communication. Imagine the different physical contexts in which job interviews take place and how that may affect your communication. Would this be letter A, physical, letter B, contextual, letter C, environmental, or letter D, psychological? What is our choice for number 3? We are talking about the different contexts in communication. Letter A, physical, letter B, contextual, letter C, environmental, or letter D, psychological. It includes the size, layout, temperature, lighting of the space, no? Kung saan kayo nag-uusap, kumbaga setting ang inyo pong pinag-uusapan dito. The correct choice is letter A. That would be the physical context of communication. Let's take a look at your definition. So ayan, yung physical context of communication is the environment where the communication takes place, such as a bedroom, hallway, or bar, di ba? Kung kayong dalawa ay nagkita sa bedroom, iba yung inyong pag-uusap. Kung kayo naman ay nagkita sa hallway, iba din yung inyong pag-uusap kung kayo ay nasa bar. Okay? Within the environment, factors like the size of space, the temperature, the number of other people present will shape the communication that occurs. That's according to De Vito in 2014. No? Kung maraming tao, medyo finesse kayo, okay? Kung kayo lang dalawa in a bedroom, iba din ang inyong pag-uusap, no? Because of the physical context of communication, okay? So the correct choice here is letter A, physical. Let's take a look at the rest of your communication context. Okay, so these are the rest of your context in communication. The next one that you have here is historical context. This involves the expectation of the speaker and audience in situations that happen regularly or have happened in the past. If, for example, an individual does an annual sales presentation for a particular client, there will, over time, evolve certain expectations about what will happen and how things will go. So, kumbaga, isinasaalang-alang mo yung history, no? History ng inyong pakikipag-usap sa isang tao or sa isang audience. For example, you've already met this audience before, alam mo na ganito yung takbo ng usapan, alam mo na ganito yung kanilang magiging reaksyon. No? So, there are going to be some expectations about what will happen and how things will go. Now, next one, psychological context. This refers to the mood and emotions of the audience, as well as the speaker to a lesser extent. How the audience is feeling will have an impact on how the speaker's messages will be received and how they should be delivered. Okay, so kunwari ngayon, kung kayo po'y nakikinig sa akin at medyo kayo ay may dinadamdam, iba yung inyong reaksyon at iba yung maaaring ang inyong interaction sa akin kesa sa time na ikaw ay healthy, na wala kang iniisip na iba o wala kang dinadamdam. No? So psychological context of communication. Next one, cultural context. This relates to the beliefs and values of a group. The way material is effectively presented to a group of teenage boys will be different from the way it is effectively presented to a group of elderly women. Kunwari, you are talking to couples and you are talking about birth control methods, no? So iba yung pakikisalamuha mo or iba yung inyong magiging presentation kaysa sa presentation mo with high school students. For example, di ba? Ang daming reaction sa high school students natin if we try to talk about sex education. I'm not sure if there's sex education right now sa ating mga schools, no? Sa ating mga high schools. Wala pa siguro na until na wala. Because of course, we are a very conservative country. All right, next one, social context. This involves a relationship of the speaker and the audience and the expectations involved in that relationship. The way an individual communicates with his employer will be different from the way he communicates with a drinking buddy. So, ang social context po, depende sa inyong relasyon. Iba yung inyong communication sa inyong tatay kesa sa inyong jowa, di ba? Sa inyong classmates, or sa inyong boss kesa sa inyong mga besties. All right? So these are the different communication contexts. We've talked about environment, no? The environment or the physical context, the setting where you are talking, your historical context, depende sa naging karanasan mo dati. Psychological context, no? The mindset or the condition of the receiver. That's your psychological context. Cultural context, depende sa kultura, depende sa beliefs and values of your audience. And lastly, you have your social context, depende sa relationship ng speaker and the audience. All right? So sana po ay klaro na. We go to item number 4. The whole process of communication begins with the communicator sending out the message using medium for a receiver experiencing an effect afterwards. Would this be letter A, Aristotle's communication model? Letter B, Laswell's communication model. Letter C, Shannon Weaver's communication model. Or letter D, Berlow's communication model. Which one is the right choice? Okay, hello po. Good evening, Sir Mark Jem Garcia. Kahit pasado na, ewan ko ba, nanonood pa rin ako sa pa-review ni Coach Mek. Cheers, nasa mabuti kayong tahanan. Good luck, cheers. Sabi ni Sir Mark Garcia, one of our LPTs. Maraming salamat po. Okay, what is your choice for number 4? Number 4, ano po yung ating tumpak na choice? I see a lot of letter C's. For question number 4, tumpak kaya? Letter C and letter B ang ating nakikitang choice sa ating comment box. Sino kaya ang ligwak at sino kaya ang tumpak? Okay, hula-hula, sabi ni Ma'am Madeline Empleo. Okay, so here, the whole process of communication, sabi ng inyong number 4, begins with the communicator sending out the message using a medium for a receiver, then the receiver experiences an effect afterwards. Now, may epekto ang mensahe sa inyong receiver. The correct choice here is letter B. This is Laswell's communication model. Okay, so let's take a look at your slide. So this one right here is Sir Harold D. Laswell, and in 1948, he developed this model of communication. This is also known as action model or linear model or one-way model of communication. But this was one of the most influential communication models. So one-way lang po siya, no? Such as para siyang transmission model mo kanina, wala siyang switching of the roles between the sender and the receiver, no? At siya po ay may emphasis on the W's, who, what, to whom, and with what effect. Okay, so you have the sender that sends the message through a channel or a medium. Then, of course, the receiver receives it, and the receiver gets an effect afterward. Okay, so may after effect or may feedback, may reaction yung inyo pong receiver. No? So this is Laswell's model. Okay, so letter B ang ating pong tumpak na choice. Now, what about Aristotle? Ito yung model of communication ni Aristotle. Now, the first and earliest linear model is that of Aristotle, who was a teacher of rhetoric and even put up an academy to produce good speakers. Now, so for him, there is a speaker and the speech or the message is sent through an occasion na may channel or may media or my medium, then of course the listener or the audience receives it, and there is also an effect, no? An effect of some kind. Okay, so pasensya, no, wrong spelling ito. It should be with double F's, no? So double F's. So linear din siya, pero mas nauna ito of course kaysa kay Laswell. Okay, so it's also a linear type of model, but of course naging influential din siya during the time of Aristotle. Now, what about the rest of your choices there? Now, say Shannon-Weaver model, ito yung ating choice C. Okay, choice C mo. It's already called the mother of all models because this is already a complete model of communication. Bakit complete? Dahil meron na pong switching of roles between the sender and the receiver. That means communication here is already shown as a two-way process. Hindi na siya linear. Okay, so you have the sender that encodes the message and sends the message through your different communication channels. It can be face-to-face through phone calls, video calls, emails, letters, texts, etc. Then, of course, the receiver decodes the message. Then after that, the receiver switches the role and becomes the sender and codes her message or her feedback, no, and of course sends that to your receiver, no, yung original receiver mo na ngayon ay naging sender na. So kumbaga ito po yung tinatawag nating mother of all models in your communication models because this right here is a complete form of communication model. Meron siyang switching between the roles of your sender and your receiver. Now, what about Berlow's model? Now, so ito po yung model ni Berlow. This is called your SMCR model of communication. SMCR here stands for the source, the sender of your message. Then, of course, you have the message being sent. That's letter M. The message is sent through your letter C, the channel. Then, of course, you have the receiver that receives the message. Now, that's Berlow's model, SMCR. But now, it has been modified to SMCRN. No? So, N here stands for noise. Dinagdag po nila yung noise. Okay? So, SMCRN, sender, message, channel, receiver, and noise. Okay? So, this was by Berlow, but we were looking for Laswell's model of communication for this item. We go to number 5. To understand what the sender means, one should focus to every single detail in communication by considering the emotion, behavior, manner, and gestures so they can respond properly to the message. Would this be the principle of attention, principle of adequacy, letter C, principle of consistency, or letter D, principle of feedback? What is our choice? Okay, I see a lot of letter A's. Paki-share po ng ating video. And of course, like our video, very important, and share our video. Okay? All right, number 5. So sabi na number 5 mo, I see a lot of letter A's for number 5, no? Para po maintindihan ang sinasabi or kung ano yung meaning ng sender, we have to focus to every single detail. Focus to every single detail. And so the correct choice here is the principle of attention. You have to pay attention to the sender, no? Titingnan mo yung kanyang emotions, behavior, manner, and gestures. Para of course, maintindihan mong maigi yung kanyang mensahe at makapag-respond ka ng maigi or makapagbigay ka ng feedback ng maigi, no, sa kanyang mensahe. Alright? So letter A, principle of attention is what we are looking for. Halos lahat naman kayo ay tumpak, no? Let's take a look at the different principles of communication here. We were looking for principle of attention. The receiver's attention should be drawn before you talk, no? Kaya tayo may motivation sa classroom. Kaya tayo, sinasabi natin, we try to get the attention of our students first before we talk, okay? Because principle of attention states that the attention of your receiver should be drawn first before you try to talk, okay? Principle of clarity, your message needs to be clearly spelled out. Dapat po hindi ambiguous, dapat po hindi magulo ang inyong mensahe, dapat klarong-klaro siya, no, from the term clarity. Principle of feedback, feedback from the recipient to know whether he has understood the message. Napaka-importante na merong reply or merong response yung ating kausap, no, para maintindihan natin or para malaman natin kung naintindihan ba niya yung ating sinasabi. Okay? So that's the principle of feedback. Principle of informality, sabi dito, sometimes informal communication is more effective. Okay? So meron kasi mga tao na minsan hindi komportable pag masyadong formal ang usapan, di ba? So, sometimes informal becomes better, okay? Sometimes informal methods of communication is more effective. Di ba, nakakapag-loosen up ka kapag kayo ay nag-games, kapag kayo ay nag-excursion, out of town, or meron kayong mga team building activities ng inyong office mates, no? Or ang inyong mga co-teachers, kesa nandyan lamang kayo sa formal setting ninyo, no? Sa classroom or sa school, di ba? So, informal communication here becomes more effective. Principle of consistency, consistent with the policies, plans, programs. Ito naman if you are in an organization, okay? So dapat daw ang inyong kino-communicate, ang inyong mensahe ay consistent sa policies, plans, programs, and objectives of your organization. Principle of timeliness. Your message should be done at the proper time, no? So dapat timely siya. Dapat as soon as you can, kailangan mo nang ipabatid ang inyong mensahe kasi baka ikaw ay malate, hindi na na-achieve ng inyong mensahe ang dapat niya ma-achieve, no? For example, gusto mo rin pala siya, ikaw ay nagpa-kipot pa, ngayon meron na siyang nililigawang iba, no? So it negates the principle of timeliness. Dapat you have to do or to send your message at the proper time, okay? And lastly, principle of adequacy. Your message should be adequate and complete. Kapag ka may kulang, ay maaaring ma-misinterpret. No? So, dapat kompleto. Gusto kita. Gustong-gusto kita. Bakit kita gusto? No? So, dapat ine-explain mo. Hindi yung medyo kulang, medyo pabitin, medyo hanging, dangling, no? Hindi niya naintindihan or hindi niya na-interpret na maayos na misinterpret niya. And so, maaaring iba yung kanyang maging response. Okay? So, these are the different principles of communication. And again, if you are a member of Team Skinner, you can easily download my file after this discussion. We go to number 6. The thought or idea that needs to be communicated should be spelled properly. Pronunciation should be clear as possible, including the enunciation to avoid misconception. Letter A, principle of informality. Letter B, principle of adequacy. Letter C, principle of clarity. Or letter D, principle of consistency. What is our choice? Okay, napakadali. Okay, galing ito sa ating pinag-usapan na yan. Grabe si ma'am, nakakauhaw naman. Okay, what is our choice for number 6? Okay, number 6, I see a lot of letter C's, and that, of course, is tumpak, no? So, dapat klaro. Spelled properly, walang misconception, no? Enunciation is very important. Speaking as clear as possible, no? Pronunciation is very, very important, especially for us teachers, no? So, one very good method of improving your speaking skills is that you practice in front of the mirror, or po pwede din naman po, you try to record yourselves, di ba? Ngayon, usong-uso na yung recorder, voice record sa ating mga phones. Po pwede nyong i-record ang inyong sarili at pakinggan, no? Meron din naman sa TikTok, di ba? May mga, ano tawag doon, duet-duet sa TikTok na po pwede mong mag-practice, o po pwede ka mag-practice on how to speak clearly and better, at a better method of speaking. All right, now before we continue, kindly like, love, and share our video. Paki-like po muna, paki-share ng ating video sa mga hindi pa po tapos. And of course, again, make sure that you are tagging your friends. Na lahat po ng mga classmates mo na magtitake ng let, tag na po sila. Okay, so para po mas marami tayong ma-reach at mas marami tayong mas matulungan. Okay. Ayan, si Ma'am Malipot Mitch. Hello po. Okay, hello po, Ma'am Mitch. Habol po. Medyo na-late si Ma'am Mitch. Okay, again, paki-tag po sila. Maraming salamat po for tagging your friends. We move on with question number 7. On March 12, 2020, President Duterte announced a partial lockdown covering the entirety of Metro Manila that was later put into place on March 15th. The lockdown was further expanded on March 16th when President Duterte imposed the ECQ throughout the entire island of Luzon and its associated islands. What communication flow is shown? Would this be letter A, downward communication? Letter B, upward communication? Letter C, horizontal communication? Or letter D, crosswise communication? Okay, we are talking about your different communication flows here. Ano nga bang pinag-uusapan natin sa number 7, no? So, if you are going to summarize question 7, napakahaba niya, pero yung bottom line dito ay nagbigay ng mandato si President Duterte. He announced it, no, partial lockdown, and then eventually ECQ throughout the entire island of Luzon and other islands associated with it. Okay, so what type of communication flow would this be? The correct choice here would be letter A. Tama po yan, no? Downward communication or top-down approach, no? Top-down process. So yan, when you say downward communication, it is from the higher ups to lower rank, no? So galing sa inyong sa ating gobyerno papunta sa mga constituents, or maaaring galing sa boss papunta sa mga empleyado, no? So from higher ups to lower rank, galing sa taas papunta sa baba, downward ang flow ng ating pong communication. Upward communication is the opposite, no? From lower ranks to higher ups. Kunwari, you are asking for suggestions, or you are asking for issues from your constituents or from your employees. Now, ano yung inyong masasuggest, ano yung mga issues dito, ano yung mga hinaing nyo, ano yung mga problema nyo. That's from the lower rank going to the higher up. So, mula sa ibaba, papunta sa itaas, that will be upward communication. Okay, what about horizontal communication? It's between people of the same ranks. Kunwari, parehas kayo na teacher 1, okay? So parehas kayong teacher 1, and all of you will be asked to gather and to brainstorm and to give your ideas, no? So this is a type of horizontal communication between people of the same ranks. Now, what about crosswise communication? This is different, or between people from different departments and ranks, or even outside the organization. So crosswise, iba-iba yung inyong ranko, iba-iba yung inyong departamento, but you all talk and you all communicate. This is crosswise communication. Okay? But here, number 7, letter A po, ang ating hinahanap na choice. Number 8, these are unofficial channels of message flow where messages coming from different levels of an organization are transmitted. Letter A, medium. Letter B, channel. Letter C, grapevine. Or letter D, memo. What is our choice for question 8? Okay, so again, to enjoy the full video and to download our files, become a member of Team Skinner. Hindi po kayo magsisisi. Masaya po dito. You can answer our online quiz. Then, of course, you can join our discussion. No, dire-diretso yung ating discussion. Okay, hang on po. Excuse me. All right, what is your choice for number 8? Unofficial channels, okay? So hindi siya official na channel of message flow, but the messages coming from different levels of an organization are transmitted. I see a lot of letter C sa ating choice, no? Sa ating comment section natin, letter C ang inyong choice, and that would be tumpak, no? Grapevine, okay? So, if you can imagine your grapevine, no? Sanga-sanga or vine ng inyong grapes, di ba? Sanga-sanga na siya. Kung saang direksyon na siya nag-flow. And of course, it is something unofficial. Hindi siya official na channel. Hindi siya memo, di ba? Letter D mo kasi memo. Kapag sinabi mong memo, it is something that's official, no? Given by the company or by your organization. Medium and channel are the same, di ba? Daluyan ng inyo pong mensahe. So grapevine dito yung ating hinahanap. These are the different information or informal communication networks in an organization. So kumbaga, ito yung mga daluyan ng pag-uusap ng mga marites. That's your grapevine, okay? Grapevine, di ba? Meron tayong idiom na I heard it from the grapevine, okay? Na narinig ko galing sa isang marites. And there are 4 different types of grapevine here. The first one is single strand, no? So single strand linear siya. For example, Mr. X communicates with Mr. Y through intervening persons in a strand. So kunwari si Mr. X, merong scoop, no? May isang chika or may isang chismis si Mr. X, kinommunicate niya through a certain person, through another person until it reaches Mr. Y. Saglit po ulit, ha? Sorry po. Okay, so again, that would be your single strand. Now next, gossip. Ito, alam na alam nyo to, di ba? Alam na alam ng mga Marites, Marisol, ano pa ba, no? Maricar, meron ba Maricar? Okay, so gossip naman, Mr. X non-selectively communicates with everyone. Lahat na nakita ni Mr. X, no, ay kanyang chinikahan. Okay, so ito po si gossip, no? Ito yung chika. Ito na yung pinakamarites na term na ating pong ginagamit. Probability naman, Mr. X communicates randomly with others according to the laws of probability. Para siyang gossip, pero minsan nakakalimutan ni Mr. X na ichika, or minsan, for example, ay busy si Mr. X, no? So hindi na niya nachikahan yung isang tao. Okay? But this is according to the laws of probability. Sometimes, meron siyang nachichikahan, meron siyang hindi nachichikahan dahil sa law of probability. Depende kung siya ay busy o depende kung naalala niya yung kanyang chika. No? Yung cluster naman, Mr. X selectively communicates with those he or she can trust. Sa mga trusted friends lamang ni Mr. X niya, chinichika na direkta. Hindi po katulad dito sa single strand na meron pa siyang channel, no? Meron pa siyang bridge, kumbaga, no? This is single strand. Gossip, walang pili. Si Mr. X, lahat nga, chinikahan niya. Probability, wala ding pili ito, pero depende sa sitwasyon, no? Minsan, busy siya, for example, or minsan hindi sila nakita, or minsan naman ay nakalimutan niyang ichika. Okay, so that's probability. Cluster naman ay sa trusted friends niya lamang. Okay, but these are the different methods of communication through a grapevine. Grapevine is what we are looking for number 8. That would be letter C. Number 9. This nonverbal cue deals with maintaining eye contact with communicating. Letter A, haptics. Letter B, oculesics. Letter C, kinesics. Or letter D, chronemics. What is our choice for number 9? Ayun. Ayan, sabi ni Facebook user, nasa probability po pala ako. Ayan, negosyante daw si Mr. X kaya minsan nakakalimutan niya yung chikahan. Paano makisali sa final coaching? Magpa-member po kayo sa Team Skinner. Dire-diretso po yan. Until the day that you take the left, no, diretso na po kapag kayo ay member sa Team Skinner. Okay, number 9, letter B. Ang akin pong nakikitang choice and letter B is tumpak na. So, yung hint ko dito is I, di ba? Makuha ka sa tingin. That will be oculesics. Alright, let's take a look at your different types of non-verbal communication. And of course, as the name suggests, ito yung klase ng communication na hindi ka nagvo-voice out, na hindi ka gumagamit ng inyong voice or ng inyong tinig, di ba? Non-verbal communication. The first one is kinesics. This is the study of how we use body movement and facial expressions. Now, facial expressions, the face as a whole, hindi lamang mata, ha? So, body movement and facial expressions, that would be kinesics, okay? Number 2, oculesics. Ito yung ating hinahanap kanina. This came from the Latin word oculus, which means the eye, no? So, makuha ka sa tingin. Kapag ka nanlilisik yung mata ng nanay mo, alam mo na kung ano yung ibig sabihin, o kailangan mo nang gumalaw at kailangan mo nang sundin yung kanyang sinasabi sa iyo, or kanyang pinapakiusap sa iyo. All right, so that's the eye, oculesics. Number 3, haptics, the study of touch, di ba? Kapag ka may mali siya, iba ang haplos. Okay, kapag ka friendly touch naman, iba din ang haplos, di ba? Iba yung friendly, nararamdaman mo naman yon kapag ka medyo may mali siya yung kanyang haplos sa akin, no? Baka naman ikaw ay feeler ka lang, no? Pero alam mo naman yun, no? 'Di ba? Kung may mali siya or wala ang haplos ng inyong kakilala sa iyo. Okay? So that's haptics from haplos, 'di ba? The study of touch. Number 4, proxemics, study of how our use of space influences the ways we relate with others, no? So proximity, proxemics, that's the study of space, diba? So there are different types of space here. The first one is intimate space, diba? This is from touch to 18 inches, diba? So 18 inches is just a little more than 1.5 ruler siya, diba? Ang 18 inches mo. So that's intimate space, the space between boyfriend, girlfriend, the space between, tawag dito, husband and wife, diba? Pwede namang nanay tsaka anak, diba? Intimate space po yon. Touch to 18 inches, no? Yan yung sabi ni Richie Rivero, 'di ba? About kay Andrea. Dati daw ay meron silang intimate space, no? Pero ngayon of course hindi na. The next type of space that you have here is personal space, 'di ba? This is from 18 inches to 4 feet, okay? So between friends, po pwede, no? 18 inches to 4 feet. Po pwedeng between close friends or family members, po pwede pa siya. Social space is from 4 to 12 feet. Okay, so 4 to 12 feet na siya. Medyo malayo-layo na. No? The social space, kunwari, kayo ay may isang party, no? Hindi necessary na touchy-feely kayo or hindi necessary na magkatabi kayo. No? So, nasa the same room lang kayo. That's a social space. And of course, public space, this is already beyond 12 feet. Okay, so malayo na. Okay, mas malayo na. All right, number 5, chronemics. This is a study of how people use time, di ba? How you use time would also be a form of non-verbal communication. Kung meron kang ka-eyeball or meron kang imimit at ikaw ay na-late, iba yung mensaheng inyong pinaparating kesa sa if you are on time or if you are earlier, di ba? So, very important when you are looking for a job. For example, meron ka ng job interview or meron kang demo, it's very important that you come on time or earlier than the prescribed time, no? Because how you use time is very important. It's a very important nonverbal communication. Okay, number 6, paralanguage. This describes vocal qualities such as pitch, volume, inflection, rate of speech, and rhythm. Okay, so kung kami no, sinasabi nila basta mga Ilonggo daw, Ilongga ay malalambing, di ba? So iba yung pananalita ng Ilonggo kesa sa mga Kapampangan, or iba din yung pananalita ng Batanggenyo, di ba? So that's going to be part of your paralanguage, okay? Pitch, volume, inflection, rate of speech, and rhythm. Dito sa Iloilo, kahit na galit na galit na siya, no? Sasabihin niyang papatayin kita, malambing pa rin, di ba? Gusto na kitang patayin, malambing pa rin po. May lambing pa rin ang mga Ilonggo. Okay, so that's part of your paralanguage, pitch, volume, etc. And lastly, you have silence. Okay, so the power of silence. Silence is also a very powerful tool in communication when we do not use words or utterances to convey meanings. Okay, so sometimes silence is enough, di ba? Kapag tinanong mo siya, mahal mo pa ba ako? Ako pa rin ba yung pinipili mo? Sino sa aming dalawa? At wala siyang sagot, alam mo na kung anong ibig sabihin yan, di ba? So it's a very, very powerful tool. Okay, so these are the 7 different types of nonverbal communication. And of course, as a receiver, no, as a decoder, dapat alam nyo to at dapat you have to be aware, no? Minsan hindi siya nagsasalita, pero alam mo na kung anong ibig niyang sabihin dahil sa mga different types of nonverbal communication na kanyang ginagamit. Okay, number 10, it is a media distribution model wherein customers are drawn to a brand by means of search engine optimization or SEO, as well as other non-intrusive techniques. Letter A, push media. Letter B, pull media. Letter C, ambition stairway. Or letter D, new media. What is our choice? Okay, how to join? Again, mag-send lamang po ng message through this Facebook page. May mga humuhugot dito sa ating comment box. We do sleep together. Ayun, sabi ni Richie Rivero, my intimate space. Paano po yung hawak na may kasamang weight? Okay, hindi ko po alam, no, Ma'am Lalaine Galindo. Siguro po medyo possessive siya, no? Ayaw niyang makuha ka ng iba? Or baka galit na po siya? Sana all may humahaplos, sabi ni Facebook user. Alright, number 10, letter A. Again, if you want to join us, dire-diretso po yung ating discussion sa Team Skinner until item number 30 po kami na every night whenever we do live sa Team Skinner until 30. And lahat po ng items na to ay na-take na nila kanina or since kahapon through our online quiz. And of course, after this, they can easily download our file now if you are a member of Team Skinner. So again, magpa-member na po kasi kayo sa Team Skinner, wala pong lugi, dire-diretso until the day that you take the let, ay nandyan po kayo sa Team Skinner. Sana daw Ilonggo na lang pinangasawa ni Ma'am Rosaline para hindi maingay pag nag-aaway. Okay, number 10, media distribution model wherein customers are drawn to a brand by means of search engine optimization as well as other non-intrusive techniques. No? Hindi siya intrusive, kumbaga hindi siya nirarap sa face ng inyong consumer. Okay, so depende sa inyong hinahanap na search engine optimization. The correct choice here is letter B, pull media. Okay, so pull media is what we are looking for. Now, ang advertising dati, no, ng traditional method pa ng advertising, ang push media natin were billboards, TV, and print. Kumbaga, nirarab, no, at the face talaga ng inyong consumer. Nakikita nila yung billboard, napapanood nila yung advertisement sa TV or sa prints, no, sa newspapers or sa magazines natin. Yung pull media, ito yung mga nasa yellow pages at nasa classified files. Kumbaga, hinahanap ng inyong customer. Okay? So, yung push media mo, yung nagbibenta, yung nagpupush. sa face ng customer, no? Sila yung nagpo-push, sila yung nag-advertise, sila yung nagsisales, kumbaga. Yung pull media naman, yung customer yung naghahanap, okay? So, traditional method, you have billboards, TV, and print for push media. Yellow pages naman classified sa pull media. Now ngayon, we already have the new media, di ba? So online na, push methods natin would be through the social media, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Ang pull media naman natin would be through search engine marketing, specialist online directories. Okay, so ito, search engine optimization ay nahanap ng customers through the search engine, through Google or through Mozilla, for example, through Yahoo. Okay, so that would be your pull media. So letter B po, ang ating hinahanap. No, new media, I've already explained, no, online na. What about ambition stairway? Ang ambition stairway naman po is what channels you use for your level of ambition. Depende sa kung anong gusto mong epekto, depende sa kung anong ambition mo, nag-choose ka ng different channels. For example, you want people to be excluded and rumors to be excluded, wala kang kinukuhang impormasyon, okay? Or wala kang binibigay na impormasyon. Ayaw mong merong makaalam or ayaw mong merong malaman, and so you tend not to give out information and not to get information, okay? Pero kung ang ambisyon mo naman ay, or ang gusto mo is to understand and to get knowledge, you use different other forms of channels. For example, printed and electronic media, oral information from your manager, or oral information from manager, as well as answers and questions. Now, if your ambition is to involve and also to be involved, no, and also to get ownership, you may use a dialogue, and you may deepen it, no, until you have your setting goals. So depende sa ambition mo, depende sa kung anong epekto ang gusto mo, you choose the right channel to use. Ito po yung ibig sabihin ng ambition stairway, okay? Ambition stairway. Sa mga YouTube viewers natin, saan po magme-message? Message po kayo sa Gurong Pinoy na Facebook page. Hanapin niyo po yung ating logo, no, yung may pangalang Gurong Pinoy, at meron pong sun and 3 stars. Okay, punta po kayo sa Facebook at i-type lang po yung Gurong Pinoy. Makikita niyo po yung Facebook page na may 5 stars at merong logo namin. Diyan po kayo mag-message. All right, we go to number 11. This type of listening is considered the most effective because the listener is not only listening with interest, but actively acknowledging listening by brief responses. Letter A, active listening. Letter B, competitive listening. Letter C, effective listening. Or letter D, passive listening. What is our choice for question 11? Okay, number 11 po, ano ang ating choice? What are we looking for in number 11? Okay, type of listening that is considered the most effective